All right, so making good progress. We just completed step 3. Now we're going to focus on step 4, updating our student database util. And again, this is where we're going to add our low-level Jdbc code for updating the student in the database. All right, so just moving back to our servlet here, on line 94 is where we actually had the code where we make a call to the student DB util update student. But right now that's just a placeholder and we need to write some real code inside of that method. So let me go ahead and navigate to that method. So I'll simply do a right click and I'll say open declaration. And again, this is the Eclipse trick. This will actually take us to the code here for student DB util. So that's where I'm at. I'm in student DB util right now. And I have just this empty shell of a method here for update student. And what I'll do is I'll go ahead and write all my real code here for doing all the real Jdbc work for us. And let me stretch out, get some more white space here at the bottom. I'll clear out all the comments there. I know I'll have throws exception up top, so I'm going to go ahead and put that in for right now. And let me just set up some Jdbc objects first and set everything to null. So I'll set up a connection for my con. I'll set up a prepared statement. And that's it. Now I'll go through and write some comments, again, just to keep myself on track. So the first thing I'll do is get a connection to the database. The next thing I'll do is I'll create a SQL update statement. Then I'll actually prepare that statement. And then I'll set the params for that statement. And then finally, I'll execute the SQL statement that'll actually perform the update on the database. So that's kind of the main game plan here for updating a student. All right, so let's start cutting some code here. So first off, I'll get the database connection. So I'll say mycon equals datasource.getConnection. Now I'll go through and actually set a SQL string here. So I'll say string SQL equals update student. And I'll set first name equals to question mark, last name equals to question mark, and email equals to question mark. And again, these question marks are simply placeholders for those prepared statements. And I'll update the student where ID equals, and that's whatever the ID that we pass in. All right, so that's the SQL. And also one thing here, make sure you have an extra white space at the end on lines 172 and 173, because they're going to concatenate this string all together, and you need to have a space there, and so you don't run into any problems. But that's the basic SQL there for updating a student. So the next thing we need to do is prepare the statement. So here I'll say my statement equals mycon.prepare statement. I'm passing that SQL that I just created from the previous line. So that looks good. Now I'll go through and I'll actually set the parameters. So again, these question marks are parameters and they start at position 1 and they go left to right. So I simply set the first parameter, which is the student's first name, and I'll simply copy this line and I'll paste it for the other lines for last name and email. So position 2 is last name and position 3 is email. And again, it's all one base starting at 1. And then that fourth parameter or fourth question mark here is ID. So I'll say my statement set int for comma the student dot get ID. All right, so that looks good there for the params. Then finally, we just execute the statement. So I'll say my statement dot execute, and that's it. Now I also need to put this code in a try finally block. So let me go ahead and do the finally here. And in the finally, I actually want to do a cleanup on those Jdbc objects. So I'll say close, and I'll close my con, comma, my statement, and there's no result set, so I'll simply pass in null for that. So null means result set, but there's no result set in this example. And I have a finally, but no try. Yikes. Ooh, yucky. So I need to kind of fix this code up a bit. So let me copy this finally stuff and cut it and move it right here. So there's my finally. And now I need to move up top right at 168 and do a try. Okay, so that kind of takes care of that. So now I have a try block at the beginning. Scroll down, end the try block on 188. And okay, so I'm okay. So now let me go ahead and just tab this stuff in. There we go. That's tabbed in, and get this stuff, tab this in. So I kind of made a mistake. I'm having to clean up here. But anyways, we have this try block up top. All right, actually we'll start from the top. So we have update student. And I set up my Jdbc objects, and then I do the try. We roll through and we get our database connection. We do our SQL stuff. Prepare the statement. Set some params. And then execute. Okay, cool. And so 188, we have our close curly for that try. And then we have our finally block here, which we clean up and close curly. Good. So that's good. So we're okay now. We're in good shape. And also just as a good checkpoint, make sure you have 2 curly braces right after that, and then you should be okay. And if there's any syntax errors, Eclipse will let you know, but there we go. We're all kind of laid out here. So this looks good so far. Great. So that's our low-level Jdbc code here for updating a student in the database. Good job. So now I think we can go ahead and test this thing out. So let's go back to our app and run it. And our app's up and running. Okay, great. So now we should be able to update a student. So let's select one of these students here and update them. So let's see. I'll try Maxwell Dixon. Okay, click on update. And I'm going to change his last name to Apples. So Maxwell Apples. And then I'll hit the save button. And I'll take a look at the list and woo, yeah. All right. So his last name was updated. So Maxwell Apples is now in our class. Good. Let's try it one more time. Let's see. Mary Public. Okay, let's change Mary Public. So let's go and hit the update button here. And we'll change her last name. Instead of public, she's private. I don't know. Being geeky, like a Java public, private, protected. So now she's private. And we'll change her email address, mary@gmail.com. So we're updating last name and email. And then we can go ahead and click on save. And yeah, that looks good. Mary private, mary@gmail.com. Excellent. Woohoo. Oh man, this is awesome. Now I'm happy, excited, but I'm thinking, well, we should really check this in the database. We need to make sure this stuff is really out there. There's no smoke and mirrors. So let's go ahead and log into our database. Let's go to our web student tracker and our tables. Go to student, select, and there we go. So this looks good. So there's Mary, Mary private, mary@gmail.com. So that's great. And then the other person we played around with was Maxwell. Yeah, Maxwell Apples. So this is great. So, sigh of relief. This works out just fine. We're updating students in the database, and we kind of went through all of the coding process for that. That included pre-populating the form, reading the input, and then saving it and updating it in the database. So, I'm excited now. So I would say good job for you. Give yourself a pat on the back, and we are making excellent progress here. I'm excited. Woohoo!